JSA issue 13, Geoff Johns and David Goyer writing with Steven Sadowski on the art. Obviously, we had the big cliffhanger last issue, which was Metron showing up with the time ship and saying, "Hey, if you don't leave now, your entire universe is going to be dead in 18 seconds," or whatever it was. So this is very much the story of what happened with the other team. We do start with the team that we left off with, though, on the ship with Metron, and he tells them the story of what happened, and that's kind of the framing device for the story. It's a pretty solid issue. I think I have a critique in that it could have been broken up a little bit better, and there's actually a moment where it feels like it wants to do what I wish it did, and it kind of like almost like teases me with it, and then doesn't do it, and it annoyed me.
What's this here? Which bit?
So once he's telling the story, right? Once we're onto the flashback of the other like half of the team, with our man in the time ship, Stargirl Kid, Jay and Hippolyta. Once they're onto that stuff, right? So they're talking about what's going on here. They're looking for Extan, and they're talking about the Whirligog. They're setting up that's what he's trying to like reassemble. That'll let him rewrite the universe, and he'll be God essentially, and all that's fine and well. So Extan shows up and he's like, "Haha, you never expected me," blah blah blah, and he's like, I could kill 3 of your teammates, yada yada yada. And there's a big fight scene, and he takes a bunch of them on. There's some fun action. There's speeding around. He tries to age people. One of them jumps in to protect Courtney, and Hippolyta's like, "I can't age because I'm an Amazon, so I'll go stab the prick." Is basically one of the
screw you.
And all this is solid stuff. All this is fun stuff. So Extan disappears though, sort of after a bit of the fight, and this is where it sort of slows down a little, and like Fate's like, "Oh, my helmet's not speaking to me anymore. I can't access my spells," and all this stuff. And there's a moment with Courtney on this page where all this, like, they're all kind of realizing the aftermath of this fight with Extan. And Courtney says, "I feel like we're stranded on a raft waiting for the shark to strike." And that's kind of what I was talking about, it teasing me, is like, I feel like at this point, they really could be doing with, okay, he could strike at any time, and it's kind of a tension as we're kind of in this, time warp.
He pops up like the very next page.
Yes, he's back at the very next page, and we're immediately fighting again. And that kind of frustrated me from a pacing standpoint, but also because I thought, there's potential there of like them like not knowing when he's going to pop back up. There's actually kind of a danger, and in almost a Jaws-esque way. So I thought that was like a really poignant reference to put in there with Courtney, but it just kind of pops back up immediately. So that's my one complaint, is that it feels like it needs more of a break between the two fights and more up and down, I suppose. But
yeah, I think maybe if you'd spent a couple of pages going back to the other team, getting some reaction, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say exactly what you do, because okay, we've only got X amount of pages still, and we want to get to this point by the end of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, maybe shorten the first fight a little bit. Have a little bit of maybe it cuts back to the other people for the present day stuff for like a page, and then comes back, and it's like, they're kind of thinking they might see something, and they're thinking they see him somewhere or something. Create a little bit of suspense out of when he's going to pop back up. Instead, here it just kind of like, he's immediately back.
Yeah, and I do like everything he does once he's back. This is where he gets the inventive, and him attacking their past. Yeah,
he takes away the day that Jay got his powers, so Jay just sort of runs out of like his speed and is dressed normally, and these moments, Hot Girl is a different version of her past self. Now she's just in a sarcophagus, and that's it.
Yeah, he basically just reverts the helmet of Fate back to just gold ore.
Yeah, obviously, Alan tries using the constructions of the 3 dead JSA members from 0 Hour, and it was nice to get that context here, that this is, his big plan from before was in 0 Hour, and this was like, he was the villain of that story, and this is kind of a sequel of sorts to that, and that's kind of nice. And I've never read 0 Hour, so I'm sure one day we'll do it on the show.
Read it. It's all right. It's pretty solid.
Maybe when our Batman gets to that part of the timeline, maybe we'll slot it in, because there's a lot of Batman tie-ins to 0 Hour. There's like a whole trade of just the Batman books tying into it.
Yeah, I feel like the Batman slot is a good place to kind of work in a lot of those bigger sort of events in general, because they're kind of, that's the book we're kind of going through chronologically, and while they're not all Bat events, kind of makes sense.
Obviously there's some that don't, like, Blackest Night you do with Green Lantern, Johns's Green Lantern run and stuff like that, but
yeah.
So big fight. happens. Like I say, a lot of the stuff that happens in it is pretty inventive. But there's a whole big boom. And basically Metron just gets away because one of the things that our man does in the midst of all this is that he kind of displaces a few of the team members. Courtney's one of them. Basically just so that Extant can't do his thing with them. They're kind of protected from him altering their past. And because of that, Metron is kind of... Basically, Extant thinks he's killed everyone. And Metron's sort of left on the ship, which lets him sort of steer it and crash it, which was the end of the last issue, showing up and saying, hey, come with me if you want to live.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't start that as intentionally as a Terminator reference, but I got halfway to the sentence and went, oh, I'm going there. This is where it's going.
I mean, when you only had one word left when you hesitated, it's a bit more than halfway through the sentence.
Yep. So, yeah. But hey,
we kind of have that ending now where, okay, we're back to where we were. We're seeing these characters in the quote-unquote present day.
Yeah, they arrive at the world or the multiverse that Extant's starting to build, and it's like a fantasy-esque world where there's knights at war, and notably, there's blue knights and red knights, and they're clearly based on the hawk and dove colours and kind of outfits.
Yeah, I mean, and they're winged knights, not wings on their backs, but helmets. And feathers, and the red ones. They have the kind of the wing harnesses, I want to call them almost. It's kind of a way of describing it. It's like the skeleton of the wings without the actual bit to fly with.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So. Yeah, and obviously again when we were explaining the Zero, we stuff to talk about how it was one half a hawk and dove, and then when Dove died, the imbalance created who he was basically. So
obviously all that stuff's important exposition for what this is here.
Yeah.
But I think it does a good job of getting it across for anyone who's not read that. You can still be a newcomer to this series and get everything you need. Yeah,
obviously I knew Hawk and Dove were. That was not something I needed to be told.
Even if you didn't, I think it gives you enough here that, okay, you maybe don't get the colour scheme and stuff here at the end, perhaps.
Do you know what? That's probably what's missing, is that when he's explaining the Hawk and Dove backstory a little bit, is there probably should be like a little panel of like Hawk and Dove standing next to each other in costume. Like, like a little flashback panel. Just to like show the colour scheme so that this ending plays off of that. That's maybe the other little critique I'll have, is that maybe that should have been established as well.
And that would have been such an easy little thing to slot in.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to change it. It would just be like replacing one panel with this flashback panel.
Yeah.
But like I say, it's kind of a weird structure of an issue because of the way it kind of just starts again immediately when I felt like it was requiring some downtime. And I sort of took that as maybe do the tension route because of what they specifically referenced. But I mean, it didn't necessarily have to do that either. It could have done something else. But
it did just feel very sudden. I agree.
Yeah. So.
I did like a lot of the banter of these characters, because a lot of these are the older ones, right? The really seasoned one with
there's a point where Jay's kind of trying to piss off Metron, and Metron's like, "I will dust you, human."
Yeah. And Jay's just there grinning, or like really trying hard not to look like he's just grinning. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually one of my favorite moments of the art. It's him like biting his lip, going, just calm, don't laugh.
Yeah. I think that's maybe the other thing that keeps it feeling a little monotonous. Monotonous. You know what I'm trying to say? Monotonous. Thank you. The word escaped me. Is that the backgrounds when they're on this ship is just this vortex of color, so it almost feels like, I don't want to say the artist had an easy time of it because he could just do this weird swirly effect the whole time without having to really. I mean, I don't even know if the artist would be doing that. It might just be the colorist just swirling some paints around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's something that adds to kind of the feeling where there's no break point to the the flow of it, I guess.
It does. There's very little geography beyond
the
ship, and they don't move around that much on the ship. It's not that big. It's not like you're seeing all different parts of it.
Yeah, the final page is really the only real location outside of, maybe like when he's explaining stuff as a quick shot of the roof, for example, and the ship crashing into it. But
I think there is right at the end.
Yeah.
Like there's like 2 panels.
Yeah. So just some little things. I mean, the pacing thing's maybe a bigger thing, but then the other things are just little nitpicks. But it's okay. Not all the issues have to be like 9s. It's fine. Like, it's okay if this is just good and not amazing.
Yeah, this is like a 7, which
Oh, we're going to
By
rate it.
this book's standards, feels kind of low.
Yeah.
But it's still like, perfectly good issue.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7 too. I don't know if that's what you were giving it
It
officially.
was, yeah.
But yeah, 7 out of 10.